And welcome back to another edition of the Blue Review, a Friday edition. We are joined by special guests today. You can see down below, of course, but I want to formally introduce our friend of the station here at ESPN LA, Blake Harris. Of course, Blake Harris, you see him all the time on Sedano and Cat, but we stole him for the Blue Review. Blake, how are we doing this morning? Is the sky falling?
Oh, the sky is 100% falling. Despite being like 14 games over 500, a 6-game lead in the division, the number one offense in baseball, it's time to panic. The sky is officially falling with the Dodgers. But I'm excited to be joining your guys' show. I watch it, almost every day whenever I'm available. I catch it, so it's a lot of fun being able to finally join and talk some Dodgers with you guys.
I appreciate you, Blake. It's taken some time. It was nothing against you whatsoever. It was a point I saw something specific from you yesterday. I was like, oh, I got to get Blake on here. I hear you all the time on Sedano and Cap, and it's like, this is just an easy bring on.
Yeah, Blake dropped some banger tweets last night. We're going to have to get into those. There's some crazy stats we're going to get into as well. We'll react to the series, but of course, to the Ranger series. But of course, if you have any questions for Blake, any questions for us on the Blue Review, send them into the chat. I do have producer Anthony back here as well. He'll be screening some questions, sending them our way. So go for that. Do it. We got a lot of stuff to get into. But before we do so, I just want to remind everyone here at the Blue Review, presented by LAX, our friends at the Los Angeles International Airport are changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guest time, and more. So if you want to find out more, you can find it out at flylax.com/transforminglax. Also, I just want to say, Blake, here on the Blue Review, sometimes we do a Friday hoodie and hat day. I don't know how long we can keep this up because summer's coming around, but I just wanted to say happy hoodie and hat day, Greg.
Yeah, happy and hoodie and hat day. And thank you for actually doing the hoodie and hat day today, Parker. We didn't tell you, Blake, about that, so you're fine how you are. We didn't actually let you know what day was today and what Fridays are around here. But it's just
it's for the best. It's for the best. I don't even know if I have a hoodie in my closet at the moment because
really?
I don't wear those. I'm the kind of guy where even though if it's like 60 out, I'll still probably wear a t-shirt and shorts. So yeah, I probably have one hoodie somewhere tucked away, but I don't think it's seen the light of day since maybe like December.
Yeah. And also, by the way,
how many, I feel that.
How many different, are those bobbleheads that are behind you? How many do you have?
Yeah. So to answer that, not enough, but I have a slight obsession with collecting bobbleheads. I don't know how well you can see it, but I probably have like 200 on that shelf. And the crazy thing is, it's, I think, 5 levels deep. But also to my left, over from my desk I have another one of those shelves as well that's like 5 layers deep. And yeah, and I have a Google Doc where I keep track so I know like what bobbleheads I have. When my girlfriend has to get me gifts, she knows which ones to get. There's probably there's probably 300 to 400 that are on that Google Doc that I don't own that eventually will be part of the collection. But yeah, that's always the main draw when people come over. They go straight to the bobblehead shelf and like to see what we got.
So I got a bunch in my office here, and I just don't care about them. So I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. If you want any of them, I'll just send them to you. They're yours. Have at it. You can add into your collection there.
I like
that. If they're not part, I'll take them. I appreciate that.
So let's get right into it. And Parker, if you have somewhere you want to go, otherwise I want to kind of get right into some Shohei stuff. What you got? All right. So Blake, you put out a tweet last night, and I think I'm pretty good when it comes to different stats. But I'm very basic when it comes to stats. I like my on base percentage. I like my, I like FIP. That's like the weirdest one that I can really get into. But you put out a stat about WRC plus, weighted runs created plus, yesterday when it involved Shohei Ohtani. And you said basically it was low leverage, mid leverage, and high leverage. He's good really good when it comes to low leverage, even better when it's mid-range level in that stat, and he's just bad when it comes to high leverage weighted runs created plus. If you want to explain what weighted, I can't even say it straight, weighted runs created plus, and what it kind of means and what it means overall for Shohei.
Yeah, so nowadays in baseball, there's a lot of stats that don't make any sense. One of the stats I brought up on Sedano and Cap a couple weeks ago was, I think, XWO bacon. And at that point, we're just making up stats. We're making up things like that.
It's food now.
Right. But weighted runs created plus, also known as WRC plus, that's kind of the one that a lot of people, myself included, really like to take a look at. I don't know how it works. I don't know how they figure it out. But what I could tell you is a 100 is considered league average. So if you're above that, you're above a league average hitter. If you're below that, you're a below league average hitter. And Shohei Ohtani, in low leverage and medium leverage situations, he is MVP caliber. 177 WRC plus in low leverage, 193 WRC plus in medium leverage, which is, again, that's like Aaron Judge kind of level production. But in high leverage situations, entering yesterday's game, Shohei was at a 68. And I think I checked this morning, it's now down to a 61, which is essentially what Gavin Lux's WRC plus is over the course of an entire season. So to pretty much sum all that up, in a high leverage situation when the game's on the line, Shohei Ohtani is essentially Gavin Lux at the plate, which for $45 million, it was what they're paying him this year. You don't want that.
No, that's pretty bad. And it's interesting because I've always given a lot of help to, for a lack of a better word, to guys like Manny Machado. Manny Machado is that type of guy. He's going to hit you a home run in the first inning. He's going to hit you a home run in the ninth inning, but only when he's up or down 9-1. That's what Manny does. But what we're seeing here is that this is kind of the same thing with Shohei right now. When the chips are when it needs to really get a run across, he comes up lame. He fails consistently. I don't know if that's do you know if that is how it is for his entire career, or is that just for this one season?
So apparently it's not. I saw a tweet last night. I think it was maybe in reply to mine, but Shohei with the Angels, he actually posted some pretty solid numbers in high leverage situations. Now, again, I don't know what qualifies as high leverage. Maybe with the Angels, high leverage is being within like 4 runs in the ninth inning or something. So maybe it's a little bit different. But this is definitely an outlier season for Shohei. And we even saw this earlier in the year. I think to start like the first month, I forget what the numbers were, but Shohei was like 4 for 26 or something like that with runners in scoring positions. So yeah, I don't know what it is. Again, it's a very small sample size so far, only 2 months worth, and it's 1/3 of his plate appearances. But again, this is the guy that you're expecting to be your MVP caliber hitter. And like I said, when you look at that number specifically, he is Gavin Lux in the crucial moments when it matters most. And like you said, Greg, it seemed like with Manny Machado, it seems that kind of way with Shohei Ohtani this year. Whenever he hits a home run, it's a majestic 120 mile an hour off the bat, goes 450 feet. But a lot of them seem like it's in the first inning when it's 0-0, or it's in Pittsburgh when the team's down like 9-2, or it's when the teams, like the other night when they were piling onto the Rangers when they're already up like 7-0. It seems like all of his big hits are pretty much coming when the game's kind of out of reach or it's too early on.
Yeah, it's obviously tough. And by the way, I saw you put up in the chat that from Denny Cortez, I believe it was, that you can't blame one person. We're not blaming one person.
Yeah.
There's not blaming one person. We are pointing out a specific thing for the best player on the team. You can try and argue Mookie, you can try and argue Shohei, but the fact is that he is the most important player to this team, especially right now, for what he's worth, what he does, how many times he's won MVP, what he's considered in the game of baseball, to come up short in so many big situations when you need him this early on in the season, that it's something that has to be addressed. Now, do you think that this is something that speaks to the rest of the season? Is it something that you think that he's going to eventually get out of? What do you see moving forward with Shohei that's could possibly change those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, they've talked about it before, and maybe it's Shohei just trying a little bit too hard, wanting to meet the moment a little too much. And yeah, obviously it's not just him, but I don't have the numbers in front of me. But I was looking last night, like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, their numbers are better in high leverage situations. But with both Mookie and Freddie, their numbers also take a significant hit in those high leverage situations. So again, it's such a small sample size at this point in the season. I think we're like 70 games in, but I think those guys will turn it around. Greg, when you were off, I was talking with Parker about this. I actually pulled up some numbers that I was going to schedule to tweet out, but if you want me to throw these your way, it's kind of like a little sneak peek for those that are tuning in.
Sure,
it's not just a Shohei problem in high leverage situations. Now, I had a feeling that the Dodgers weren't quite one of the better teams when it comes to high leverage moments so far this year. So through the first 2 months of the season, again, we're almost at the halfway point. Here's where the Dodgers rank in high leverage situations across baseball. And I got some stats on here that you'll like, Greg. I got batting average, I got on base percentage on here. So nothing,
the good ones.
not the ones that don't make any sense. So in high leverage situations this year, the Dodgers are 23rd in batting average. They're hitting only 232. They're 26th in on base or in OPS, .659, which is well below the league average. In slugging percentage, .345, which ranks 29th. And for good sake, WRC plus, the one I like the most, they are 25th in baseball with an 86 WRC plus. So as a collective unit, this Dodgers team, through about the halfway mark of the season, they're one of the worst teams in high leverage situations. I mean, those are some pretty important numbers, and they're near the bottom in regards to all of those. So, as this comment says right here, baseball is weird. The Dodgers are in first place. They have the best offense in baseball, but in the biggest moments, they just haven't met the moment yet this year.
So I wonder, and I'm sorry, I know Parker, you can get in here with this question as well. Is I wonder, we've seen the bottom of the lineup just messed up consistently at the beginning of the season. That number is definitely tainted by what the bottom of the lineup did very early on in the season. And really, they've just started to kind of come out of it with the addition of Andy Pages, with Hayward coming back, Rojas getting some hits down the stretch. But I wonder what Kevin Biggio can do. But it's not just those guys. It's not just those guys anymore. We're talking about what's happening at the top of the lineup. It is all the way up and down the lineup. Actually, the middle of the lineup is pretty good. But 1, 2, and 3, the Mookie, Shohei, Freddies of it all, they are not getting it done in those situations. Just look at David Robertson the last 2 nights. Orel was talking about it on the broadcast. Strikeout against David Robertson 2 nights in a row. The only pitcher in baseball this year to do that to that 1, 2, 3. So they're not getting it done. And Parker, I don't know if you've been noticing that as well, but that it's not bottom and top anymore. It's not just bottom. It's all the way up and down.
Yeah, I'd have to get the stats off the top of my head, but just to see the fact that we got the top of the lineup not performing like to the point that we want them to. I think Blake, you made a point earlier about how if they're already up, if Teo already hits a dinger and puts the Dodgers up 3-0 or whatever, then the team starts to perform a little better. And that's weird. The fact that I don't know if you can even call it the pressure. It's just maybe an approach issue. I don't really know what's necessarily going on there with the Dodgers lineup. But it is very interesting to just watch this kind of unfold. I know we were talking before the show, Blake, that we kind of convince ourselves, it's June, so it's okay. But how much longer can we continue to convince ourselves with that? And how can this Dodgers team kind of turn this around? I don't know if maybe there's a solution that you have off the top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough because the weird thing about this Dodgers lineup is we've seen them have these games where they're scoring 10, 15 runs and they look unstoppable. Now, obviously, we don't need that every night. It would be great if they could, but when we started the season, I think the Dodgers were close to some record, like the most consecutive games of scoring 5+ runs to begin a year. Scoring 5 runs a game, this Dodgers team would be on pace to winning like 120 games because their pitching has been so good. It's just the fact that the Dodgers will have these offensive outbursts, and then for multiple games to follow, they'll score 1 run, they'll score 2 runs, and the offense looks completely, like I said in my tweet yesterday, looks like they're pulling guys out of the left field pavilion and putting them into the batter's box. I mean, this lineup should not be letting Michael Lorenzen toss 7 shutout innings against them. Like that's just inexcusable. So again, I know that they have one of the best offenses when you look at their numbers as a whole, but it really is kind of skewed because those big blow performances, that's kind of the reason why they're near the top.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out Fullerton legend and Troy High School out here in Fullerton, Michael Lorenzen.
Nice shout out. I like it.
Gotta give the SoCal guy some love.
So you mentioned it there, Blake. It's not just the pitching has been so good. I mean, I obviously, the fact that what's his name? Michael Grove gave up 3 in the first inning. That's tough yesterday, but that shouldn't be the end of the game for them. That shouldn't be okay. We're down 3-0, game's over, and that's kind of how it felt in this game. You had your chances in the 8th inning when David Robertson actually had 2 on and nobody out on first and third. You had your chances against Kirby Yates. They had on 2 nights in a row. You had your chances against Kirby Yates. It's not the pitching, and that's what's really kind of interesting. When you went into the season, pitching would probably be okay. We're just not sure what we're going to get out of it. Right now, it is the offense, even though it is one of the best offenses in baseball. So, what do you think needs to be upgraded? Are you looking more towards moving Mookie to second base? I know that's a really big topic in itself. Or do you want more outfield? You can always use more pitching. What are you kind of looking for that you want to see for this team towards the trade deadline?
Yeah, I would still like to see, first and foremost, Mookie move back over to second base. Like, I commend him for wanting to play shortstop. I mean, they asked him like a few weeks into spring training. That was a tough task, but defensively now, through the first couple of months, I tweeted it out the other night, Mookie is essentially last in every major defensive category, and he's kind of been slumping essentially since May 2nd. Now, I know Dave Roberts has come out and said there's no correlation to him playing shortstop in this slump, but this is like a 6-week slump now that Mookie has been like really, really below average. So again, I don't know if that's the issue, but I want to see him back over at second base. Put Miguel Rojas at shortstop. He's been great this year. I wish the Dodgers could acquire Willy Adames from the Brewers. I think that would be the best trade the Dodgers can make. I mean, he plays Gold Glove defense. He's great with the bat, but considering the Brewers, I think are like they might have a bigger division lead than the Dodgers. I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't think they're really going to be able to improve the infield at all. And I've been tweeting this the last couple of nights. I don't know where you guys lie on this, but I'm all in on the Dodgers acquiring Luis Robert from the White Sox. I know it might be a high price. I know he has his injury concerns, but we've seen it since he returned from the IL. When this guy is in the lineup, he is one of the best hitters in all of baseball. And he also is a Gold Glove winning center fielder that you could lock up through the next 4 seasons. So I know outfield isn't necessarily the strongest thing the Dodgers need to address, but when you're adding a hitter and a defender like that, I think the Dodgers need to strike.
Yeah, Blake, I know I saw your tweet last night literally about that saying, and this was a big quote, no prospects untouchable for a Luis Robert. Plus, of course, you got to add that caveat there, plus a Garrett Crochet package. So, or Crochet, so excuse me if I mispronounced his name. But that point that you're saying, Luis Robert, might be nice to see. I guess at that point you're boosting up the middle of the lineup again, or you might throw him up in that cleanup spot. But still, just to help the lineup overall in general, because like we've been saying this whole episode, it's not just the bottom of the lineup now; it's the whole squad.
Yeah, the bottom lineup has actually been doing better, and
yeah,
Luis Robert Jr. would be great. And you say it's not the biggest deal. I think that you absolutely need an outfielder right now. You need somebody that's going to be consistently in left field, or especially if you're going to platoon. Jason Hayward in right field. So you definitely need another outfielder in all this. I'm totally with you when it comes to Adames. Not going to happen. But finding a legitimate shortstop to be able to take that pressure off of Mookie, no matter what, if Dave Roberts says that this is not, they aren't correlated. The fact is that he has to be in his head a little bit by being basically a bad shortstop. He has good moments. Then he has a bad moment, and you can tell that it kind of messes him up a little bit. He still makes the throw to first, but if you can take that off his mind and just have him at second base, that will free him to be more at ease at the plate. At the beginning of the year, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he was one of the best, if not the best in baseball at not swinging at pitches outside of the zone. And now he is wild and kind of going at basically anything, trying to get that hit because he's trying to get it out of that slump.
Yeah. I mean, again, you wonder if it's something like in his head. And there was an article the other day, I think it might have been from Bill Plunkett in the OC Register. I could be mistaken, but he was pretty much writing about how Mookie is out there like 5 hours before the game, and he's taking, grounders with Dino Ebel, and he's like really putting himself out there. And you wonder, is he kind of going overboard a little? Is he, putting his body on the line a little too much? Is he overworking himself a little too much? Again, it's tough. You don't want to correlate the numbers, but yeah, this is like a 40-ish game stretch where Mookie has been really bad at the plate. And yeah, defensively, he hasn't really gotten any better. So it's an interesting thing. I mean, the good thing is the Dodgers have a good enough lead in the division. They don't have to worry about it too much right now, but if August rolls around, Mookie's still not being Mookie at the plate, and defensively he's still struggling. Yeah, you got to make something happen because you can't have him playing shortstop in October.
No, I totally agree with you. Go ahead, Parker.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it's one of those things where if you observe him just on the defensive standpoint, you could see even on the television broadcast, the dude has a sigh of relief every time he makes a play. It's like when he messes up, he's like, "Ah, gosh darn it," and then even when he makes a play and barely happens, he goes, "Oh gosh darn it, I got that off." So you don't, like you said, Blake, you don't want to correlate the numbers too much, but it does look like from the outside looking in that there's some sort of mental strain having to work a little extra harder than everybody else on the field.
I'm sure he's not saying "gosh darn it." That's not what's coming out of his mouth while he's out there.
Family friendly here on Blue Review.
Right, exactly. But I mean, there is a point to that, Parker, and that you can tell when Rojas is in the game. Every time he doesn't make a play, or even when he does, you see Rojas go walk over to Mookie, have a little chat, and he goes, "Okay." And you can see that he's actually listening to Rojas and going, "Okay, okay." Like, but that means he's thinking about it, and that means that it's a a big part of what he's going through on a day-to-day basis. And that going out there 5 hours before the game every single day, great, you're getting better. I really love that. But you're putting a lot of effort. The reason for moving from right field to second base was to save his body. Now you're moving him over to shortstop, which is probably the most important position on the field.
Yeah.
So
most taxing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to kind of shift the conversation because I know we've been talking about the lineup overall, and we've been saying that the pitching's actually been really good. But on the pitching news and standpoint, Bobby's kind of finished up one of his last rehab assignments. I don't know if he has one more. Blake, you can confirm that. But it was pretty bad. So that's why I kind of wanted to get into it, highlight it. A terrible 4th and 5th inning from him. I think he threw 55 pitches in those 4th and 5th. The fact that you're seeing his fastball not hit the velo and he's kind of looking a little bit off on his approach from the stretch. Are there any worries from you, Blake, just with his near return? Because they want to get fully bolstered in that their pitching rotation, but Bobby's looking a little rough down there.
Yeah, it's so tough to judge these minor league rehab games because, they always say don't look at the box score, just look at what the stuff looks like. But like you said, the velo has been down. The stuff hasn't looked necessarily great. I think it was either Bobby or Dave about a week ago after he made a Rancho start. Like Bobby said, because he was pitching in Rancho, it's not like pitching at Dodger Stadium. He didn't want to go like 100%. So maybe that's still the case down in AAA. But this was a pretty tough injury that Bobby had with his shoulder. And I'm personally surprised he's this ready to return after only a couple months on the IL. I thought it was going to be a longer stint. Again, you probably don't want to judge until he returns to the Dodgers, but it sounds like they're going to activate him next week when they're in Colorado, which seems like the dumbest possible place that you could bring a guy back that is trying to return from the IL. So we're going to have all eyes on Bobby Miller in his first start in 2 months in Colorado, where pitchers go to die. So we'll see what happens next week if that's the case with the Dodgers.
Yeah, it feels like Bueller, doesn't it? Like if just let him stay down there until he's done until he's ready. The pitching staff has been good enough and has stretched out enough that you can let him stay down there and just figure it out completely. If his stuff is good enough, then sure. But if you're going to get rocked by, he was in AAA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's going to get rocked by AAA hitting, what do you think is going to happen when he gets up here? Bueller was very much the same way. He had 6 rehab starts, and he really wasn't ready then. So I would prefer him to stay. I also saw that Clayton Kershaw threw 3 innings off the mound in a simulated game yesterday and says he's right on track. We still won't see him for a little while, but the fact that he's right on track, that's great. I don't think. What else do you think you need from this? This is going to be the last thing, because then we got to get out of here, Blake. But what is your overall feeling towards this Dodger team right now on the positive side, since we were so negative for most of this?
Right. Yeah, we'll get some positives out of this. I mean, again, despite the offense seeming like they're horrible, despite a lot of pitchers being injured, I mean, half the bullpen's injured and they're missing a number of starting pitchers. This is still, I think, the 4th best team in all of baseball record-wise, something like that. They still have a 6-game lead in the division. So they're still able to manufacture wins on a consistent basis. It hasn't been the case in the last month, but I guess that's the silver lining is they're not fully healthy. Things aren't fully clicking, and they're still able to win, 60% of their games. So once they're getting guys back, I'm sure things are going to slowly turn around. But hopefully they get there because, again, they have a big lead in the division, but that's only because the NL West has been horrible this year. If the Padres start winning games, the NL West could get a little bit interesting if the Dodgers keep playing this way.
It could. All right, tell us wherever we can find you, Blake, your Substack, everything else that you got going on.
Yeah, so if you guys want to be part of the Sky is Falling Doomsday every day over there on Twitter and X, you guys can find me at Blake H. Harris. And yeah, I'm on the Sedano and Cap show, I think almost every Thursday. So if you listen there, you can find me there at 5:45 on Thursdays. And if you'd like to support my work and read all my articles where I'm going more in depth, talking about WRC Plus that Greg loves so much. And of course, XWO Bacon, the best stat out there. You can go to blakeharris.substack.com.
I really appreciate it. And just for some programming note, is going to be me and Marcus Grant. I can't wait for Dead Meow to get so upset about this, but it's going to be me and Marcus Grant on Sedano and Cap today. So we are going to be hosting Sedano and Cap. Your Blue Review is being taken over on Sedano and Cap today. So we may not see Dead Meow later on tonight, but that's okay. We love you anyway, buddy. But all right, for the Blue Review, go ahead and take us out there, Parker.
For the Blue Review, Ivan Parker Bell alongside Corporate Greg, and thank you again to Blake Harris for joining. We're looking forward to having you on again soon. Thank you to LAX, and we'll be back on Monday, 9:30 to 9:55, as always on weekdays, the Blue Review. So without further ado, we'll catch you next time.